Now guys, I am going to discuss the agenda of this S&P 500 weekly technical analysis. And the first point of the agenda is the S&P 500 technical analysis on the weekly chart. Weekly chart, clearly S&P 500 and Dow Jones, both of these indices were bullish and are bullish. Okay, this heavy bullishness in last 2-3 days has made these indices to move up higher, and now the candles are heavy green, indicating continuation of the bullish movement. Okay, and I will show you through the charts whether there is a saturation or not, because if it hits the saturation, okay, in that case the upward movement for now will be limited and it will have to cool down. So as of now, weekly charts are not creating any problem in the bullish side. Rather, these charts are supporting the bullish side movement. Weekly chart means the short term picture for a week, for 2 weeks, for a month or 2 months or so. Second point of the agenda is the S&P 500 technical analysis on the daily chart. So daily chart means the short term picture. Because of this, the last candle in S&P 500 and Dow Jones, Monday we are expecting either a gap up open, or irrespective of any open, an initial bullish movement or intraday bullish movement. Okay. Also, because of this candle, the MACD, which was trading bearish, is now trading bullish. So we have seen a bullish crossover. Okay, so on the daily chart also, the S&P 500 and Dow Jones are now approximately 90% bullish. The only problem for now will be the resistance and the saturation. Okay, otherwise it is good, otherwise everything is good. The last point of the agenda is the probable movement of the SP500 from October 14th, which is Monday, to October 18th, that will be Friday. Means what is going to happen in the S&P 500 in the next week, whether it will move up, whether it will come down, or if it will move up and it will find resistance, it will come down, will find support, and then again it will be able to recover. For example, yesterday in my first update, after the S&P 500 breached the 5,800 mark, so then it was very much clear that now S&P 500 is going to sustain above 5,800 mark, because this is the psychological mark, and the S&P 500 won't want to lose the 5,800 psychological mark, because this can trigger selling. So what we have seen, that intraday S&P 500 came down, it hit 5,800.67 or .76, but it never breached the 5,800 after 10:30 AM Eastern time yesterday on Friday. So similarly, I will discuss these conditions in the last point of the agenda, the bullish bearish conditions, bearish trigger, bullish trigger, and whether there will be a limited movement, and a lot of things. And guys, there is one more thing, that all of these three sections are interrelated. This means that when I'm talking about the probable movement, I will analyze the candle on the daily chart and the weekly chart, some of the special conditions, MACD, etc. on the daily and weekly chart. So in a manner, I already covered the 30 to 40% probable movement in the first and the second point of the agenda, and then rest 60-70% in the last point of the agenda. That is why it is strongly recommended that you should watch all of these three sections in order to understand what is going to happen to the S&P 500 and the US stock market in the next week. Now guys, I am going to discuss the first point of the agenda, and this is the weekly chart. W as in weekly chart. Weekly chart means one candle represents 1 week, not 1 day or 1 hour. So let's first discuss the candle, because in last many weeks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay, continuously for 5 weeks, the S&P 500 was green and bullish. But guys, before that, if you have not yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, then please subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit the bell icon. And if you are looking for these daily precise updates of the S&P 500 every day from Monday through Friday, then you can join my Patreon community. I have given the link in the description of the video and also in the comment section. And also, if you want to learn these unique and hidden hacks with 95% or 100% accuracy, then you can visit my Patreon page, and under the shop option you will find these hacks. So now when we look into the candle, this candle is heavy as compared to this and this candle. Okay. Other than that, the closing of the candle is near to the high of the candle. So this indicates a gap up open on Monday, or irrespective of any open, an initial bullish movement or an intraday bullish movement in the S&P 500. And now this is the Dow Jones. This is the weekly candle of the Dow Jones. Again, a very heavy candle in the Dow Jones, and the closing is again approximately, or the closing is very near to the high, and it is indicating continuation of the bullish movement. Okay, just like the candle in the S&P 500, and also a gap up open on Monday, or irrespective of any open, an initial bullish movement or intraday bullish movement. Now one more thing you need to understand, that see, this is the weekly candle. Okay, so when I say a gap up open, or irrespective of any open, an initial bullish movement or intraday bullish movement on Monday, it is also applicable to any day of the week, because this is the weekly candle. This means that even if there comes, see, in order to fulfill the condition, or in order to fulfill the obligation, the S&P 500 has to breach 5815. So even if if there comes a gap up open like 5820, 5816 or 5830 or anything, but above 5815, obligation is fulfilled. If there comes a gap down open, it moves up, reaches near to 5815 or hits 5815, obligation is fulfilled. Whether it happens on Monday, Tuesday or Wednesday, but it will happen. Okay. Now let's talk about the technicals. And guys, there is one more thing, that now the S&P 500 has entered into 5800 zone. Okay, means 58XX zone. So some people are saying that by the end of this year, S&P 500 may hit 6000 mark. Okay, so I will not speculate. It may or may not hit 6000, because before 6000 there are many hurdles. It is not that easy like giving, the bullish movement every day or every week. Okay, so it may or may not happen. So I will not speculate, and I will not confirm that if this will happen, because yes, there is one thing, 2016, 2018, 2020, 2022, early January 2022, February 2020, mid 2018 or mid 2016 or so. Okay, so what is common to all of these? That the market was moving up and it hit the saturation. It was heavily saturated, but it was still moving up. It reached all of the technicals and everything moving up, and then suddenly, for example, in 2022, in the first week, I think first or second week of January 2022, all of a sudden fall, and then fall and fall. Similarly, in 2020 January, it was moving up. It started to move up from last December, and then January moved up. Okay, and it become heavily overbought, heavily saturated, but still it was sustaining. And then in early February it came down, and then down and down. Similarly 2016, 2018. Okay, so why I am discussing this 2016, 18, 20, 2022, okay, these things. The reason is that as of now technicals are supporting the bullish movement. Okay, there is Russia-Ukraine war, and now there is the Middle East conflicts, and other than that there is the slowness in the economy. Okay, economy is slowing down, but still the market is moving up and is making new all-time high levels. Okay, now if it keeps on moving up, I think 2 or 3 weeks, or it will be around the next FOMC meeting. Okay, if it goes bullish, remains bullish, okay, it will hit the saturation, it will enter into the overbought. Okay, it will be in the similar kind of condition, okay, which were seen in 2016, 18, 20, 2022. But still it might take 2-3 weeks or entire 1 month, okay, for this kind of situation to come into the picture. Does that mean, so question is that, does that mean that for the next 1 month it will remain bullish? No. It depends on that how the S&P 500 and the Dow Jones performs at the trend lines, okay, and the other levels, resistance and so, and if the lower level charts like 4-hourly chart or if the daily chart, okay, see, before we see this heavily overbought and saturation in the weekly chart, remember I'm talking about the weekly chart, this is the weekly chart section. Before this is seen in the weekly chart, this will happen in the daily chart, okay, and by that time daily chart will be heavily saturated. So some more bullish movement, not a problem, okay, but if the daily chart started to become saturated and overbought, then that will then bring it down again, okay, we'll hold it here. But yes, one thing, okay, we can say that now the market is in a condition that either it will move up or it will sustain around these levels. Chances of seeing the bearish movement are low, are not much, okay, but there are just these 1 or 2 triggers, okay. If these triggers are hit, in that case the bearish movement will come into the market all of a sudden. I will discuss these triggers in the second and the third point of the agenda. Okay, anyways, a lot of this thing, and now let's talk about the technicals. Let's see if how soon the technicals are going to saturate. In terms of the technicals, moving averages clear fan out, so S&P 500 is bullish through the moving averages on the weekly chart. S&P 500 is bullish through the Bollinger Bands on the weekly chart. S&P 500 is bullish through the Ichimoku cloud on the weekly chart. MACD on the weekly chart is bullish, so S&P 500 is bullish through the MACD on the weekly chart. S&P 500 is bullish through the stochastic RSI on the weekly chart, and as of now it is neither overbought nor saturated, but if it remains bullish for next 1 or 2 weeks, it will enter into the overbought condition and the saturation condition. So overall S&P 500 is 100% absolute bullish on the weekly chart, whereas in case of the Dow Jones, the same thing. Dow Jones is bullish through the moving averages on the weekly chart, bullish through the Bollinger Bands, bullish through the Ichimoku cloud, and it is bullish through the MACD, bullish through the stochastic RSI. Now, the Dow Jones was leading the entire US stock market, okay, in the bull side, and because of the Dow Jones, the entire market was sustaining. In the next week, if the Dow Jones goes bullish, remains bullish, gives a green candle, it will enter into the overbought condition and the saturation. This means that even before we see that S&P 500 is hitting the overbought and saturation, Dow Jones will hit the overbought and the saturation. So here again, through the technicals, Dow Jones is 100% absolute bullish on the weekly chart, but as of now it is neither overbought nor saturated. Any more bullish movement in the Dow Jones will make it overbought and will make it saturated. But whatever will happen or whatever is going to happen, I will keep you posted through these daily precise updates of the S&P 500 if you are my Patreon community member. And if you are not, then you can join my Patreon community. I have given the link in the description of the video and also in the comment section. Now guys, I am going to discuss the second point of the agenda of this S&P 500 weekly technical analysis, and this is the daily chart. Daily chart means one candle represents 1 day, not 1 week or 1 hour. Let's first discuss the candle. Now if you notice, it's a heavy bullish candle. Before that, on Thursday there was a special candle. So now if you see in my final update on Thursday, I mentioned if the S&P 500 closes in between 5790 and 5778, then it is a technical bullish condition, and through this condition the S&P 500 is allowed to remain and sustain bullish. and this will be the best case for the S&P 500 to try for 5,800 on Friday, as it will be filled with bullish sentiments, and this case will also allow the SP500 to give a gap up open tomorrow, means on Friday, or irrespective of any open and initial or intraday bullish movement in the market. So because of this special condition, next day a gap up open, or irrespective of any open and initial bullish movement or an intraday bullish movement, and also it is the best case for the S&P 500 to try for 5,800. So whatever was anticipated or expected through this, the point number 4 of the final update on Thursday, it was seen exactly in that manner on Friday. Now this candle allows supports, so it allows the continuation of the bullish movement, and also on Monday we can expect a gap up open or irrespective of any open and initial and intraday bullish movement. This was the final update on Friday. So now the same condition, exactly same condition. However, this candle is not a special candle, but it will be seen as special because the closing was above the heavy resistance and also the trend line. Okay, so there were two closings, one closing, second closing, two consecutive closings above the trend line, means bullish movement, bullish breakout, and exactly the same was discussed in the midweek update on the midweek update video on Wednesday. So overall this means that candles are supporting the continuation of the bullish movement, gap up open, or irrespective of any open and initial bullish movement or intraday bullish movement on Monday. Very, very simple. Now let's analyze the technical indicators. But guys, before that, if you have not yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, then please subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit the bell icon. But if you're looking for these daily precise updates of the S&P 500 every day from Monday through Friday, then you can join my Patreon community. I have given the link in the description of the video and also in the comment section. Now in terms of the technicals, moving averages clear fan out. SP500 is bullish through the moving averages on the daily chart. SP500 is bullish through the Bollinger Bands on the daily chart. SP500 is bullish through the Ichimoku cloud on the daily chart. And the best part, recently after some struggle, okay, now we can see that earlier, see, the MACD always gives the linear movement, okay. However, here we have seen struggle, and now finally the S&P 500 managed to get a bullish support through the MACD, because now MACD is bullish, there was a bullish crossover, and stochastic RSI is also bullish, and overall the market is neither overbought nor saturated. So now what we have seen is that, or what we can say is that S&P 500 or SP500 is 100% absolute bullish on the daily chart. And when we analyze the chart of the Dow Jones, then exactly the same conditions are seen in the Dow Jones, and again the same thing in the MACD. Okay, after some struggle, finally on Friday, MACD of the Dow Jones is, okay, it is now bullish. There was a bullish crossover. Okay, everything else looks good because stochastic RSI is also bullish, and the Dow Jones is neither overbought nor saturated. Dow Jones is also 100% absolute bullish on the daily chart. So now we have seen that the S&P 500 and Dow Jones, both of these indices were 100% absolute bullish on the weekly chart, and the same condition is seen on the daily chart. This means that technicals are supporting absolute bullish movement. So this further confirms that the bullish movement can continue, or the bullish movement is expected to continue. Okay, but whatever happens or whatever will happen, I will keep you posted through these daily precise updates of the S&P 500, which I give to my Patreon community member. And guys, it is not just about these daily precise updates of the S&P 500 every day from Monday through Friday, but I also give these the stock market opportunities in the premium stocks of the US stock market, top 20-30 companies of the US stock market. And that's not all, because I also give the midweek update video detailed analysis on Wednesday before the open of the stock market. Then I discuss that what is expected to happen in the market in the S&P 500, Dow Jones on Wednesday, Thursday and Friday. So guys, whenever you want to join my Patreon community, I have given the link in the description of the video and also in the comment section. Now when you follow that link, then you will see that this is my Patreon page, this is my Patreon profile. And here you will see that there are these 3 tiers or 3 levels. This is all midweek update videos only, which you will be getting every Wednesday, okay, before the open of the stock market. And all of the numbers, levels, everything in detail will be provided in this, the midweek update video. This is the daily S&P 500 updates for non-US and Canada residents. This is the daily S&P 500 updates for US and Canada residents only. So whenever you subscribe to either of these 2 tiers, then you will be getting all midweek update videos, okay, the same thing here, as well as the daily SP500 analysis, updates, movement, levels, zones and everything, opportunities, etc. And also the stock market opportunities, minimum 5 to 10 every week in the premium stocks of the US stock market. And guys, if you notice, many people have joined my Patreon community for last many weeks, months, years, and they are getting these daily precise updates of the S&P 500 and the Dow Jones every day from Monday through Friday, and also the midweek update videos where I discuss in detail the conditions, the numbers and everything. So guys, whenever you want to join my Patreon community, then I've given the link in the description of the video and also in the comment section. You can follow that link and you can join my Patreon community and you are welcome. Now guys, I am going to discuss the third and the last point of the agenda of this S&P 500 weekly technical analysis. So here I will tell you that what is going to happen or what is expected to happen in the S&P 500 and in a manner in the entire US stock market in the next week from October 14th, which is Monday, to October 18th, that will be Friday. Next week, the most important event, okay, as you know that the earnings season is on, okay, now the companies have started to post the earnings. Tuesday is very, very important for the entire US stock market. Why? UNH, United Health Group, GS, Goldman Sachs. These 2 giants. When I say giants, so when you open the Dow Jones, okay, so there are 30 companies in the Dow Jones, okay. Out of these 30 companies, UNH is the top and the primary contributor to the Dow Jones. Then I think in the second place or the third place comes the Goldman Sachs. And now these 2 companies are going to post the earnings on the same day, morning, Tuesday morning, before the open of the stock market, okay. This means that Tuesday will be heavily volatile. So it doesn't matter that where the closing will be on Monday. They may come a red closing or a green closing. But based on the outcome, means whatever the earnings will be, okay, in these the cases from UNH and GS, there will be a gap up open or a gap down open accordingly. And then for the entire day, okay, the movement will remain into that direction most likely, okay. Now comes the numbers and others. But guys, before that, if you have not yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, then please subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit the bell icon. And if you are looking for these daily precise updates of the S&P 500 every day from Monday through Friday, then you can join my Patreon community. I have given the link in the description of the video and also in the comment section. Or if you want to buy the products, then again I have given the link to these products in the description of the video and also in the comment section. Now Monday, as we are anticipating a gap up open, or irrespective of any open and initial bullish movement or intraday bullish movement, right? But now there is a problem. See, S&P 500 is allowed to move up, not a problem. The problem is in the Dow Jones. Okay, there is a trend line here in the Dow Jones. The closing of the Dow Jones was 42,864. Okay, so if there comes an open above this mark, okay, then obligation is fulfilled. If there comes a little gap down open, but it moves up and reaches to 42,864, then also this condition will be fulfilled. Okay, this can happen initially or intraday. Okay. However, the most important part is that how the Dow Jones is going to react to this, the trend line. Because on Monday, there is nothing to support the market. The only thing to support the market is the technicals. 100% bullishness. Only the technicals. So if the Dow Jones manages to breach and move above the trend line, perfect, not a problem. In that case, everything will move up and everything is expected to remain bullish, not a problem. Okay. If the Dow Jones struggles, remains bullish or a little bearish, okay, but sustains around this the mark, and this happens, and by the end of the day we see only a very little candle, very small, very thin candle in the Dow Jones and also in the S&P 500. S&P 500, it won't matter as such, because S&P 500 is now free to move up. Okay. However, in this case the closing is seen below the trend line. Fine, no problem, no problem. Tuesday, UNH and Goldman Sachs will post the earnings. This will be the last chance, because the earnings of the Goldman Sachs and the UNH can change the direction of the market. If the earnings are seen bad, negative, or guidance is negative bad, means it is hawkish, simple, it is hawkish. Okay, then this kind of closing, number one, okay, this was a trend line failure. Okay, see, there was a trend line failure on Friday, that was the first failure. Okay, this case second failure. But if this happens on Tuesday, then expect a heavy red candle on Tuesday. So I am talking about this kind of situation or this kind of condition. Okay, this kind of condition will come into the picture if there comes this small candle and a failure on Monday. Okay, then most likely it will indicate that this kind of situation is expected to be seen in the market on Wednesday. Rest will be clear once the UNH and Goldman Sachs post the earnings on Tuesday. Okay. However, so this was one thing. Okay. Now, if there comes a closing above the trend line in the Dow Jones, okay, on Monday, then again it doesn't matter that where the S&P 500 is closing. It will indicate that market want to remain bullish. Now the UNH and GS. So now it all depends on UNH and the Goldman Sachs if they are able to give a positive or a dovish support to the market. If that happens, then no doubt there will be another heavy bullish candle in the Dow Jones. This heavy bullish candle means there will be a heavy bullish candle in the S&P 500. Now, to what extent this will be seen, it will depend on the resistance, because now the S&P 500 is going to deal with a resistance here, somewhere around here. So here you can think of a number around 5850. However, my resistance level is below, okay, this is the number. So there are chances that S&P 500 might not be able to reach to this the number. It will hit my resistance and will be restricted. Okay, before that there is one more resistance. So there is the zone. Okay, good resistance zone. Only through this condition Dow Jones will be able to move up heavily and will be able to help the SP 500, Nasdaq and all other indices to move up heavily. Okay, so this is a special condition here. Now, if the market sustains and survives Tuesday and goes bullish, in that case there is nothing okay as such, because in that case the market will remain bullish, it will move up. However, I've shown you that on the weekly chart of the Dow Jones is saturating, or the Dow Jones is expected to hit the saturation and will enter into the overbought condition. This means that if the Dow Jones trades above the trend line, it will be bullish, it will remain bullish, but at the same time it will hit the saturation, it will enter into the overbought on the weekly chart, and then there will be pressure on the Dow Jones. But because recently there was this bullish breakout, it has moved up, and now this particular one, if it moves up, then it will be filled with the bullish sentiments in a manner that it can sustain for 1 or 2 weeks, not a problem. But definitely there will be a pressure. Okay, now one more thing. If the SP 500 remains bullish for next 2 days or 2 or 3 days, okay, then stochastic RSI is expected to hit the saturation on the daily chart. Okay, when it hits the, and along with the saturation, it will also hit the overbought condition. Okay, then two of these conditions will be there. Once the S&P 500 comes into this condition, and if it remains around my resistance level, okay, in that case we will anticipate a fall. However, this fall will be normal, limited and restricted, because now the S&P 500 will try to not to lose 5,800 mark. This is the psychological mark, and because of this psychological mark, S&P 500 sustained for the entire day in the on Friday, and this was my first update on Friday, okay, around 10:30 a.m. Eastern time, to my Patreon community members, and I mentioned that now S&P 500 will show the S&P 500 will show reluctance, because now it wouldn't want to lose the 5,800 psychological mark. If it breaches even a little breach of 5,800, then this will trigger selling. Okay, however, it will show reluctance, resistance, it will remain above 5,800. okay, there was the next resistance level, it hit the resistance level, then it traded between the 5,800 and the resistance level. So in a similar manner, whenever S&P 500 comes down, it will show reluctance to no, and it will try to not to lose the 5,800. If there comes a breach of 5,800, then what will happen? In that case, this can or this will trigger selling. Now, when this can happen? Tuesday. Okay, because Tuesday UNH and Goldman Sachs, although UNH and Goldman Sachs doesn't have heavy weightage in the S&P 500 or Nasdaq, so as such these two must not be impacted, right? But they will be, but the S&P 500 and Nasdaq will be impacted, because the Dow Jones will be impacted, and when the Dow Jones will be impacted, then there cannot be a heavy disconnect between the Dow Jones and the S&P 500 or Nasdaq. Okay, in that case what will happen? In that case the S&P 500 will have to come down, okay, based on the means if the earnings are seen bad, okay, UNH and Goldman Sachs, okay, it will have to come down. Once it breaches 5,800, it will open the bearish side. In that case, the bearish side will be open to what? In that case, bearish side will be open to 5768. 5768 was the high of recent high, and other than that, this was my resistance level, and now it is acting as support level. So after 5,800, 5,768 has the potential to hold. Before that, there is, okay, just below 5,800, okay, there is this 5790. okay, so if there comes a little breach of 5,800, but it sustains above 5790, fine, there will be still be some chances that it can retrace, recover. But if the selling continues, then 5768 is the next heavy support level. Okay. Now, what if there comes selling or there comes heavy selling? Okay, and this starts from Tuesday itself. Okay, one more thing that you must understand. If the market survives Tuesday, if the entire market survives Tuesday and remains bullish, and also the Dow Jones trades above the trend line, then any fall will be limited to 5,800, around 5,000, or simple includes 5790. Okay, this 58 or 5790, okay, will be limited to this, and S&P 500 will remain reluctant to lose it. However, and this is what I'm telling from Wednesday, Thursday and Friday. Okay, those days that the S&P 500 has sustained and survived on Tuesday, and also the entire market. However, if there comes a heavy fall on Tuesday, S&P 500 gives fails at the trend line, and also on Monday it fails. 1, 2, 3 failure. Okay, in that case there is no option but to come down. In that case, this will not be able to hold. Okay. However, if the S&P 500 is gains heavily on Monday, closing was at 5815. If it gains like 1% or so on Monday, okay, it will be clear only when the S&P 500 comes into the session, and it trades around 5,800 in 60s or 70s. And then on Tuesday, Dow Jones gets this bearish movement because of UNH and the Goldman Sachs. Okay, in that case again this zone will come into the picture and will be able to handle the fall. But if the S&P 500 on Monday remains around 5,800, 5,820 or so, okay, in that case, and then comes a heavy fall in the Dow Jones, then it will breach, it will come down. 5768 will be there, thereafter 5750. Okay, it will be there. S&P 500 will try to sustain, because at the same 5768 and here we have seen this the confluence zone. It will be able to sustain. Losing this zone means for now there will not be any more bullish movement. Okay, it will lose more. It will come into, or it will enter into the 5006XX zone. Okay, this will be there. This means that Dow Jones, especially Tuesday, okay, will clear. Monday, however, will give us some idea what is going to happen. Closing below the trend line means the market is eagerly waiting for UNH and Goldman Sachs to see okay, what will happen to these the stocks, because these are the opening stocks. Okay, and also the primes, whatever is going to happen here. Okay, but because this is going to happen on Tuesday, okay, and Wednesday, I will give you the midweek update. This is the midweek update video before the open of the stock market. So in this, the midweek update video on Wednesday, okay, because it will be very much clear what happened on Monday and what happened on Tuesday. So now it will be we'll be able to see, we'll be able to identify that, okay, what is going to happen on Wednesday, Thursday and Friday. Okay, whether it will go bearish or bullish. If it goes bullish, then what will be the next resistance level? Okay, if it goes bearish, then to what extent, what level, okay, it can come down depending on the momentum, okay, which was seen on which we'll see on Monday and Tuesday. Okay, so a lot of things will be very, very much clear in this, the midweek update on Wednesday. So guys, if you do not have access to the midweek update, then you can either join my YouTube membership, my YouTube channel, or you can subscribe to any of these 3 tiers, and you will be getting the midweek update. This one is only for the midweek update, and these 2 are the midweek update plus the daily analysis and the daily updates, daily movement opportunities in the S&P 500 and the market. So this means that the bull side is open. Bull side is open to what? Bull side is open towards 5,900. Okay. For the 5,900 to come into the picture, there must come a sustained movement above 5,800, and S&P 500 must not lose 5,800 and 5790. This small 10 points, this small zone, that's it. So 5790 is my calculated level, 5,800 is the psychological level. And in between 5,900 and 5,800 there is a heavy resistance. S&P 500 has to cross that resistance, and then only it will be able to move towards 5,900. Otherwise it will remain around that resistance and it will come down. Then it will test this particular zone. But whatever will happen or whatever is going to happen, I will keep you posted through these daily precise updates of the S&P 500. And if you also want to get these daily precise updates of the S&P 500 every day from Monday through Friday, as well as the midweek update video, then you can join my Patreon community. I have given the link in the description of the video and also in the comment section.